talk a little bit about membership orientation. And I truly believe that everybody is in a different spot where their co-ops are. Some are startups, some have been around a while. Some are morphing, some are having to change. That would be our definition. So I'm Deborah. I am the finance coordinator, but I also do client service coordination. I also work in the field when it's necessary. I started as a caregiver and kind of worked into that role from a previous banking background, which kind of means that's why I kind of ended up in the financial bucket.
Thank you.
And I also have, you want to come up here just a moment? So Michelle was on our committee that worked on creating our membership orientation package. So I'm just going to let her introduce herself and share a little bit.
Hi, I'm Michelle Thurley. I've been with the company for about 5.5 years. And I was brought onto the committee halfway through. Actually, I was brought onto the board, brought into the chair, brought to Dulles, and brought onto the membership committee, all in one meeting. So I'm like, what are you doing to me? I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. So I thought, because I was with the company for 5.5 years, I thought I knew what it meant to be a member. But once I got on the committee, and I started to realize, I did not realize there were all these benefits of being a member. So I was learning in the process of doing it. So I thought it got me excited, like, great, I can't wait to share it with the other members that don't have a clue what it is. Some members are like, we already know what that is. Other members that have been with the business longer, like, we did not realize that. So we really wanted to put an effort in what it meant to be a member. What are the benefits of being a member? To get them excited about being part of the co-op. So, yes.
She didn't want to do that, so. So just to get a feel for who's in the room here and where everybody is, if everybody could just maybe take a couple minutes between your own co-ops and think about what you're already doing for member orientation. Like, what do you do? When somebody new is coming in, what are you saying? What do you already do? So just take a couple minutes about that. I heard some good conversations going on. You could just kind of say where your co-op is and what you're already doing.
So we're currently in pre-startup mode.
We can't hear you, gotta stand up.
Yeah, so we're currently in pre-startup mode with the work that we've been doing with our nonprofit and speaking with home care workers. One of the things that we, because we do a lot of service provision, we really try our best to connect the services that we're providing back to purpose and back to mission. So that when people first come into our space, they're not viewing us as just like providing these CPR trainings or providing these other things, but always connecting it back to it's like we do these trainings because these are things that workers said they wanted to see. We're in this room right now because that conversation came out of people saying they wanted to own their own agency and take ownership over the industry. So while we haven't had this conversation yet, I think that theme of like purpose and mission kind of like connected to the services is something that we try our best to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody else? Somebody else just want to share what they're already doing?
I'll say we didn't quite finish, but we are working on this. We're a year and a half into being open, and so when somebody becomes a member, it's after 6 months of working, they're eligible to become a member. And right now, it's not. We don't have a big process around it. We have the board will vote them in, and we have more of an orientation, like right when they're hired, what that Nora would do to educate about our workplace and co-ops, but we don't have that really coming from the members and from the board members that are there. It's more coming from the administrator. so we're working on that, and we just put out a kind of a survey for members that I've attached to everyone's paychecks, and we asked questions like, what does it mean for you to be part of the cooperative, and what do you want to see, all these questions, and we're going to kind of use that feedback to continue working on it, I guess.
Perfect, awesome.
But it's a work in progress.
So Cooperative Care was started in 2001. So we have morphed a couple of times. So there's various stages of needing a member orientation. So we've come to realize that in the beginning, when a co-op is forming, and there's people that are behind this, and there's lots of support, and there's a lot of buy-in, because there's a common goal to start this co-op and get it moving. So those people are already passionate, and they're already vested in its success and making it happen. And that's the case for us. We went through some pretty serious transitions. We had a period where we had an executive director that kind of suppressed culture. That, so in the beginning, we had all this great energy and all this great culture. And then we went through a period of suppression, and where it's just like a job. And so we were kind of faced with this challenge of, okay, how do we restart the culture? So we are almost a startup as far as our culture is. We had a strategic planning session, not this past year, the year before, and one of our intentions was to beef up our culture and get that moving again, and have that mean something to everybody. And so we targeted the membership committee, we got that started. We started just brainstorming. We had a committee of 5, and we applied to the CDF and got some money to help with the expense of creating that and the time. It is still a work in progress, but it was a lot of brainstorming. It's like, okay, now how are we going to take this group of 40, where a few of them have been here a long time and have embraced the culture, and then we have all these new people, and then there's the new people coming in. Like, what are we going to do to have them buy in and become vested? So I'm going to go through. This is our part 1. We thought we just need to take it down to brass tacks. Like, hey, what are these terms? What does some of this stuff mean? So this is just like the first part. The second part is still in progress. And after having presented this first part, we're like, oh, we're still missing a few things. So, be prepared to morph and to change things and have them adapt to, what you need to speak to as far as your membership and where you are. So we'll just kind of go through this a little bit. Am I talking loud enough that I don't have to stand here?
Yeah.
Okay. This first page, so the first thing the committee did was come up with all the words that meant something to them, to that particular group, to the committee. As Michelle alluded to, the committee needed to learn it all. So it was a training for them too, to even be able to create it, to pass it on to somebody else. So, we started real simple. What is membership? We asked everybody, write down your few thoughts. What does that mean? What is the definition of membership? How does that work? Some conversation around that. Had some people, encouraged some people to think about other membership organizations, how things may be similar. What is a cooperative? Like, what is that really? Write down what you think it is. This is what it really is. And I'm going to kind of go through these really fast. I'm happy to share this with anybody who wants it, and you can make it your own. But it's pretty, the presentation itself is very deep, and there's a lot of information in here. Not too much information for 45 minutes, so. So we asked the group, okay, what is this autonomous thing? This vocabulary, like this is all new, this is new information to people. What does it mean? Write down, what is cooperative membership? Your thoughts about that? What does that mean? It's a legal entity owned and democratically controlled by its members. like, and then a bit of a conversation about, how is this organization business different than others? Like, what sets us apart versus, with having this knowledge about membership and cooperative, how's it different from the home health agency? A little bit of an engaging conversation about that. And then we said, hey, okay, so here's what your membership looks like with us. This is what it is. This is what the requirements are. These are what the benefits are. These are the cultural benefits. And this is still a work in progress too. We already know we need to add a few things to this. Just give everybody a chance to kind of look at that a little bit. Because this is why do I want to be a member? Why do I want to participate? Why does that really mean something to me? You join Sam's Club, why? Because you want to buy in bulk. You want, you want the benefit. There has to be a reason to do it. And I will tell you, my group, we already know and are very aware of some other benefits that were readily present for us even when we did this orientation. So, just from listening to people in this room. So, what are the other benefits? Events, meetings, gathering. We kind of tell them, these are all the things that we're going to offer you in your membership package. A monthly newsletter, collaborative projects. You get a peer advisor. I'm going backwards. We have entire membership and employee meetings. We have a caregiver corner in our office where people can come in and just kind of gather and talk and have a cup of coffee on a break or, grab a snack, something like that. And then it's like, okay, hey, we just learned all these new words. Let's play with them a little bit. Then we get into the 7. Then we start getting to the nuts and bolts. It's like this conceptual things, these new words. We get into some nuts and bolts of things.
Activities.
What is more? Let's get a little more into. And then guess what? We're gonna play with these words some more. And this is where the information starts to get a bit dense. And this is going to be different for everybody. What are your rights as a member? The one voice, one vote, one equal share. Starts to get into the meat and potatoes. So this is also pertains to what's your membership look like? What's included with that? And then we get into, okay, what's your responsibility now? Now you're a member, now you own this thing. So, what are your responsibilities as far as that goes? And most people don't realize there's a conduct responsibility. There's a responsibility to educate yourself. There's a financial responsibility, whatever your co-op has decided that is. And like I said, I'm willing to share this with anybody who wants it to make it their own. So the responsibilities of the co-op as a whole. So you have some individual ones, but the cooperative is responsible for some things, all that stuff. A little bit about patronage allocations. You got to tell them, how does that work? In a nutshell. So then there's this conversation. So then the next level, once you've gotten through some of those things, it's like, okay, let's talk about who really runs this organization, about the board of directors. Like, who's on your board? Do you know who it is? Board basics. All the information they need to know about, how many people, when does it meet, how are committees formed, how does all that stuff work? So, to run for the board or not run for the board. So, and from our perspective, we were dealing with a group of members who had never seen this information, never had it, never got even a glimpse of what it means. They were doing just a job, a good percentage of our membership. So, we have to speak to, hey, why have you run for the board? Why haven't you? What are the pros and cons? What do you think it is? Let's troubleshoot this a little bit and have some. So we broke out with some groups and did some activities that way. And then, so this was my favorite part of our orientation. So this was our chain of command, and it's exactly what it looks like and what we give to people. You know, it's got this whole circular, this is our membership. Everybody's a part of this big circle, and everybody's just got a job within that. So what we did was we had the entire group get up and get in a big circle. And so this represents who owns this business, these people in this circle. And then what we did, we went one by one. When anybody who's a support home care worker, step to the center. So everybody who provides services, step to the middle, step back out. So anybody who's a peer support person, step to the middle. So everybody just has a different role and responsibility within this whole circle of ownership. That's my favorite activity. You know, and I think it was impactful for some, probably not for as many as I would have liked it to be, because it was a new concept for people. So, and then it kind of lines out who does what in the office, and oh, look at these blank committees. Who wants to step into the circle and provide some support in that area? Well, there was one half foot. It might have just been a toe, but. So, and then we went through this little exercise with ownership versus an employee, and we kind of just talked about the differences, your perspective as an owner versus what it would be to be an employee. You know, like the first one, you look to the long range health of the organization, whereas employees may only be concerned with their time working at the company. Like, I only need to go do my shift, I'm done. You know, that perspective. And just some different things about that. So, and now this next section, we have elected that regardless of whether you're a member or you choose to be an employee at the end of your probationary period, everybody gets these core values. You know, this is how we relate to each other on a human level. So whether you're a member or not, you get this piece. And because most of our members never had this piece, we added it to our membership orientation, this first part. And this goes into things like equity. We're all equals. None of us is better than the other one. You know, what does the positive side of that look like? What does the negative side of that look like as far as behavior and how you relate to each other and people? You know, and there's a bunch of these, so there's respect. You know, each and every person deserves respect. We will not point fingers and blame. We will not gossip or badmouth. We will not belittle or criticize. We will work to resolve differences through an orderly and mature means. You know, and some of you complete the case, but this is just human decency. This is just natural respect. But I'm going to tell you, when I typed these, when we worked on these, I know my areas. I picked them out, like, whoa. You know, I better stop doing that. I'm going to teach that, I better stop it. So it's a good exercise. Your committee, whoever's working on this project, is going to get a lot of self-growth and self-development on doing it. And then teaching it will give you more. You know, I always say the teacher gets more out of the lesson than the people they're giving it to. So that there's other ones, like listening. Everyone has the right to be heard. We will listen even if we disagree. Fairness. We will try to take into account all the issues affecting each circumstance or member, being as fair as we can with the resources to make the cooperative stronger. Consideration. We will consider others' feelings, time, situation, gifts as we do our work and interests as a cooperative member, as cooperative members. Thoughtfulness. I'm going to quit reading them because I want us to have time to talk. Welcoming. You know, we need to welcome new people. New people coming into the lifeblood of our future. Yes. Professionalism. We're a business. We need to be behaving like one. You know, act like a business owner. Determination. Hard to stay that course and dig in and keep moving even when it gets tough. Openness. We're open to talk about our differences. Generosity. Responsibility. Honesty. So then we also have a set of client wants. This is how we're going to treat our clients. This is what our relationship with our clients are going to look like. We're going to respect them. We're going to have compassion for them. We're going to have dependability, like we're supposed to be there. We're going to be honest. We want them to know you can trust us. We're going to be patient and give you time to do what you need to do. We're going to be thorough in our job. We're going to take initiative. Oh, and guess what? I got some homework. We're going to go back and deal with these values a little bit, play with those words. So. I think Michelle can speak to the process of creating this. So then we wanted, like, how are we going to take these values, and have them apply to a real situation, and have it mean something. So we have caregiver to caregiver. They're both working. You got a negative Nellie, you got a positive Carrie, and you got George the client. So, and we'll just kind of do this one for a second. So Nellie and Kelly are working together at George's house. George has been a client for many years. Nellie and Carrie arrive at George's door. Nellie says to Carrie, "This house is disgusting. Nobody should have to work here." Carrie replies, "George can choose. It's his right, and he has a really great personality." Nellie smirks and says, "Yeah, but George is so slow. I mean, let's get a move on. Let's get this done so we can get out of here." Carrie replies, "George just needs a little extra time. He and I are both happy when he is successful, and he does as much for himself as possible." Nellie says, "I'm not doing any more that's necessary here. That's necessary because this house is disgusting. I don't want to be here." Carrie replies, "I know it can be overwhelming here. George has a lot to do. Maybe we can pick one task per week to work on." So you can clearly see who the positive person is in this situation and some of those negative values that have happened in there. So the exercise with our group was, kind of write over there what's positive and what's negative. What are some of those keywords in that? So, and there's more. There's another one, and there's another one. So they get to do it 3 times. We had quite a few laughs when we were creating these scenarios and picking out, those words and trying to set up some scenarios for people to work through and apply. So this was part 1, like I said, of our orientation. Our part 2 gets a little more into, we just hit you with all this. So we're going to have another session for a couple hours and talk about the democracy and a little bit more about that, the bylaws. That material already exists. So we spent time at this point working on more of this abstract kind of stuff. So, questions about any of this so far?
So how many times have you done this, or this new, because this is new, so how many times
It
have
is
you done
new. We've
this?
done it once. We got everybody together at one time.
And what was the reaction from this? Because it's intense, it's a lot, right?
Well,
so what was the reaction from folks?
For some people, I think it was good. We did hear some grumbles in the audience, like, "Oh my gosh, you're paying me to sit here and do this." Well, we already know, what, we haven't done our job. You're not a vested member, but we knew that. We already know that. A good chunk of our middle membership came up in a time where there was no enlistment into the ownership opportunity. So we're having to rebuild it. We're having to start over. We might as well be a startup co-op going, okay, how are we going to get this culture going and get this movement going? For some, can you speak to that for you at this moment? What this has done for you as a member. You've been with us 5 years, so you were hired in this time where there was no cultivation of ownership. I know. but this is how we grow.
Yeah. So I knew there was, what it meant to be a member, but I didn't know the depths of what it meant to be a member. I've never had a job where you had this type of culture before. It was always like, you go to work, you do your job, you go home, and that's kind of how when I started out, that's what it was. So they were pushing all the benefits and what it meant to be a member. So as we're going through this, it was a learning process to me. It's like, oh, really? You're like, well, it's been that way. Oh, I did not know that. So, it was eye-opening to me that it was there, but it wasn't there.
See, now isn't she a great speaker? She